only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
The National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning.
Welcome to the Common Sense Practical Prepper Podcast, where prepping doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. Coming to you from a well-defended off-grid compound high in the mountains. Coming to you from his Florida room in Richmond, Virginia. Neither off-grid nor well-defended, unless you count his chickens and cats. Here is your host, Keith.
Hey folks, this is Keith and welcome back to the Common Sense Practical Prepper Podcast, November 5th, 2025. And I'm going to break one of my cardinal rules and talk about politics tonight because this is too important for me personally not to talk about. So Jay Jones is apparently the new Attorney General-elect for the state of Virginia. Roughly 52 to 47%, about a 63,000 vote win over his opponent. If you have anything to do with politics or keep up on current events, you're familiar with the text messages that Jay Jones sent kind of by accident to a Republican delegate here in Virginia back in 2022. So bear with me. I'm going to read you what he sent to her, who was a Republican in the House of Delegates. So basically what he said was, and he's talking about the Speaker of the House in Virginia at the time, his name is Gilbert, texted her and said, 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, who was the Speaker, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with 2 of the worst people you know, and he receives 2 bullets every time. So Coiner texted back and told him to stop. She said, it really bothers me when you talk about hurting people or wishing death upon them. So he initiated this exchange after he appeared to accidentally text Joyner bemoaning the glowing tributes about a centrist Democrat, Joe Johnson, who had recently passed away. If those guys die before me, Jones said, I will go to their funerals to piss on their graves. So apparently Jones called Coiner during the text exchange and reportedly doubled down, suggesting that he wished that Gilbert's wife could watch her children die. Coiner said, you weren't trying to understand, and she reportedly hung up on him. She said, quote, you were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die, end quote. So he says, yes, I've told you this before, only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. He goes on to say, I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes, he continued. So this is a person who wishes violence upon his political rivals or the people in the opposite political party of his, as well as their children. This gentleman is going to be the top law enforcement officer, the top cop in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, if that doesn't cause pause, if you're a conservative, I'm a conservative, here is a person who wishes conservative politicians and their family members dead, and he's going to be the one to kill them. So the Democrats in the House of Delegates apparently have a supermajority now through the elections. And Spanberger's the governor-elect. I'm not even going to start on her. So with the supermajority, they could torch concealed carry, redraw districts, and then Jay Jones, the guy prosecuting, the lead prosecutor, fantasizes about putting bullets in the rivals and the wife watching the children die. So Roanoke College had a poll. 46% of those who read those text messages, 46% of those polled said that the text messages did not alter the fact that they were going to vote for him. That's not apathy. That's permission for violence. Remember back in 2021, one of the alphabet agencies, there was a memo calling parents extremists for showing up mad at a school board meeting in Loudoun County, in Prince William County in Northern Virginia. Hundreds of these parents were flagged and doxxed, some dragged out in cuffs because they were upset and they raised their voice about pornography being included in the curriculum for their young children. So now Jane Jones is apparently going to run the show. Some guy who said he'd laugh while she dies. And there's no reason to believe that conservatives in the Commonwealth of Virginia are going to be labeled just like the parents did at the school board meetings. This isn't over the top. This isn't hyperbole. This is how the next school board meeting could go if you decide to raise your voice, or even if you decide to show up in mass to talk about something, bring something to the school board's attention, whatever it might be. We talk about the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the folks on the far left that celebrated his assassination. I could go on and on and on about people on the far left that wish harm to conservatives, people on the right, even people in the middle. If you watch any of the newscasts, you watch any videos, any protests. I mean, look at the protests against the ICE agents being assaulted, being doxxed, and all they're trying to do is uphold the law. The government is still shut down. I think today is the 35th day. I think that ties the record for the longest shutdown, or maybe it's one day longer. So maybe this is now the longest government shutdown. Thousands of flights are delayed or canceled every single day here in the United States. Huge lines at the airports to go through TSA. ATC is completely overworked. They're working all the overtime they can, all the overtime they have to. And a lot of them are calling in sick, and you really can't blame them. Now, I predicted the shutdown would last about a week or so. Today, I read in more than one place that some folks believe that the Democrats kept the government closed up until this election in Virginia, and there was some stuff in California, in Pennsylvania, and in New Jersey. They purposely kept the government closed, blaming it on Trump, which really they have to blame it on the Republicans if they want to blame anybody, but the Republicans blame them right back. Trump can't do anything. It's Congress that decides how the money is spent. But if you say something enough times, whether it's the truth or not, people will ultimately believe what you're saying. So it's my understanding that Democrats kept the government closed to somehow gain momentum for the election and keep saying Trump's fault, Trump's fault, Trump's fault. Now they have the governor, New Jersey, they got the governorship here in Virginia, which ultimately isn't a big deal that it's Democratic because Youngkin only won by 2 percentage points 4 years ago. So it's not like Virginia is a red state, it's kind of a purple state. But with Fairfax and Loudoun County, pretty much a suburb of Washington, D.C., I would easily say 85% of the population of those two counties vote Democratic. So what does this mean for folks in Virginia? I really don't know. All I can tell you is how it affects me and what I've seen done in the past. Conservatives being vilified, being targeted, and now with the supermajority, who knows what laws are going to be passed. So, as far as prepping, if you have not, I want everybody to go out and purchase 5 1-gallon jugs of water, run you about $3. Find alternate ways home. If you live in Fairfax and listen to this podcast, which is highly unlikely, grab your map. If you take I-66 to work or to school and then back home, map out 3 different ways to get home not using 66. If you live in the Richmond, Virginia area, 95 is the major artery up and down the East Coast. Get your paper map. If you travel 95 for work, for school, go to a friend's house, find 3 alternate routes instead of going right through the middle of Richmond, Virginia on I-95. Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, the tunnel to Virginia Beach, the Chesapeake Bay Tunnel, that gets clogged all the time. Just general rush hour, and that bridge has a tremendous backup. If for some reason there is an accident, there is something planned, there is a protest that shuts down traffic on the bridge in the tunnel, you have nowhere to go if you're stuck on that bridge. Find a way to get to where you need to go without using the tunnel. Get you a map, get you a Sharpie, get you a highlighter, and map out alternate routes. VDOT, and search around, and eventually you'll find a link to get maps sent to you for free. All right, folks, that's my little rant. I know I broke one of my cardinal rules. There's no use crying about spilled milk. I'm not going to sit and mope. But I'm also not going to ignore the political climate as I see it. With preps, whatever it happens to be, you need to go with the flow, change with the times, whatever little analogy you're saying you want to use, and then plan appropriately. If you see the situation as no big deal, then that's fantastic. I see it a different way, but that's just my opinion. All right, folks, as always, and especially after the shenanigans and chicanery from last night's election, be safe out there. Take care of one another, and until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Common Sense Practical Prepper Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. While you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review.